All right, hey everybody, I'm Missy Fitzgerald. I'm a flight instructor here at Melbourne Flight Training, and today we're going to talk briefly about airspace. So have you ever looked at the app FlightAware, and you can see all of those cool little planes flying all over the United States and wondered how on earth are those airplanes navigating from point A to point B without running into each other? Well, that's because it's of our unique airspace. Our unique airspace is meticulously designed and organized to keep us safe while whether you're flying a Boeing, an Airbus, or even just one of our little Cessna 172s. Every day, the FAA is responsible for 45,000 flights carrying 2.9 million passengers across 29 million square miles of our US airspace. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. So why does airspace matter? Well, it keeps us safe from flying different types of aircraft as well as different operations. Also, it helps you understand where you can fly, at what altitude, and under what conditions. And lastly, it's also required for your FAA written knowledge test as well as for your check ride. So we have two different types of airspace, two different types of categories, I should say. We have regulatory and non-regulatory. And within those categories, we have four types, and that's controlled airspace, uncontrolled airspace, special use airspace, and other. So we're going to talk a little bit about each one of these. Controlled airspace. Let's just talk briefly about Class Alpha. Class Alpha you're not going to be able to see on a chart. Class Alpha you need to fly under IFR instrument flight rules. You need to be instrument rated, and Class Alpha starts at 18,000 MSL all the way up to 60,000 MSL, otherwise known as flight level 600. Your aircraft needs very specific equipment to operate in that airspace. So next we're going to talk about Class Bravo. So think Bravo, big airspace, Boeing, Airbus. Class Bravo you'll see as depicted with blue lines. So over here we're looking at, for example, Orlando. So Orlando's Class Bravo, also airports like Miami, JFK, Atlanta, those are Class Bravo airspace. So they start at the surface all the way up to 10,000 feet. They have at least two layers, somewhat like an upside down wedding cake. You may have heard that before. And are tailored for that specific airport that they are designed around. So you do need ATC clearance when you are going into a Class Bravo. And you need to hear those infamous words, cleared into the Class Bravo. You need specific equipment such as two-way radio, a transponder, and altitude reporting capability. All right, so our next controlled airspace we're going to talk about is Class Charlie. So Class Charlie, we'll look at Daytona Beach International, for example, KDAB. A Class Charlie airspace will be depicted with
two magenta rings. Although the configuration of each Class C area is individually tailored, the airspace usually consists of a surface area of 5 nautical mile radius and an outer circle with a 10 nautical mile radius that extends from 1,200 feet to 4,000 feet above the airport elevation. Each aircraft must establish two-way radio communications with ATC providing air traffic services prior to entering the airspace.
Equipment required, you still need a radio, you need a transponder, and you need altitude reporting capability as well. Our next airspace we're going to talk about is Class Delta. Here at Melbourne, we are Class Delta. So Class Delta is depicted by these little blue dotted lines. Okay, and they start from surface up to 2,500 feet. However, they're individually tailored for that specific airport. The reason why we are surface to 1900 here at Melbourne is because we have Patrick Air Force Base that overlies our airspace. And so when you look at our Melbourne airport and you look at our airspace, you will see off to the northeast, Patrick Air Force airspace overlies us, and they are surface to 2,500 feet. So you do need radio communications with entering a Class Delta, but no other special equipment. So our last controlled airspace we're going to talk about is Class Echo. Class Echo is airspace that is not Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, or Delta. Echo is surface all the way up to, but not including, 18,000. The way you can tell that we have Echo are by these shaded kind of vignette looking type magenta circles or sometimes squares. So if you're flying VFR, you do not need to have any special equipment. However, once you're on IFR and you're flying into Echo, that's a little bit of a different story. We'll dive more into that in another session where we talk more details about our different airspaces. All right, so the next type is we're going to talk about uncontrolled airspace. So uncontrolled airspace is golf. If you remember from John and Martha's King Schools, golf means go for it. So when you want to fly into a Gulf airport, on the charts, that'll be depicted with an untowered airport is magenta. If you don't have a magenta ring around that Gulf airport, that means you are Gulf airspace from the surface up to 1,200 feet. However, if you have that magenta ring surrounding a Gulf airport, you are Gulf from the surface up to 700 feet. And then from above 700 feet all the way up to, but not including 18,000, you'll be in that echo. And again, we'll talk more about that into detail. Those can get confusing. But in Gulf, you don't need any special equipment. Just need to make sure that you keep your visual scanning going and avoid traffic. All right, so we've talked about our controlled and uncontrolled airspace. So our next airspace that we're going to talk about is special use airspace. And those are things like military operations area, MOAs, restricted areas. Those are also depicted on your sectionals, or if you're using an IEFB, you'll see that as well. We have warning areas, controlled firing areas. Those are just some of the special use airspaces that you'll need to be familiar with as well. And then when we get down to our other airspace, those are things like TFRs, so temporary flight restrictions. Also ADAs, air defense identification zones. Also we have TERSAs, terminal radar service areas. Just a fun fact, there's only 30 TERSAs left in the United States. So again, these are different types of airspaces that you need to have a relatively good understanding. And why it's important is because you're going to need to know that, again, for your FAA written test and for your check ride, as well as just keeping you safe and legal while you're out flying. But in our next lesson, we'll break down every single airspace and go into more detail with them so that you have a better understanding. So no matter where you stand, fly in the sky, you'll be safe. Thanks for listening, and join us again for our next class. Thank you.